Like the first morning, blackbird has spoken, like the first bird. Praise for the singing, praise for the morning, praise for the springing, fresh from the word. Sweet the rains do fall, suddenly from heaven, like the first dew fall on the first grass. Praise for the sweetness of the wet garden, spring completeness, sweetness. Mine is the sunlight, mine is the morning, wonderful wonder, even so plain. Praise with elation, praise every morning, God's recreation of the new day.
Morning has broken, and it is a new day. And it's time for us to open our eyes to see what has changed since we first noticed the world and figured out where we fit in that world. And something our eyes tell us now is that our minister, Patrick Michael McCarty, is not here at the pulpit today. He might show up back there sometime during the morning because he has duties, but they're not going to be at the pulpit today. He asked me to fill in for him, but he said, don't talk too much, Wayne. That's actually what he said was somebody else will be giving the main message, Dick Meyer. And so we're going to calm you down a little, and you don't have to do it all. Just be master of ceremonies. Okay. But did any of you see Saturday's Press Democrat? Notice on the front page there's a picture of a young lady running through the woods. She is a cross-country athlete with one of the local high schools. Her name is, I've got it here, Hannah Thompson. This is the front page of our county-wide newspaper, and I bet you Hannah is going to keep copies of this forever. Pretty much like I kept copies of similar articles about me back in the 1950s in San Jose, California. The San Jose Mercury on occasion would have an article that included something about my athletic events. I was pretty good in those days. But I'm not bringing this up to toot my own horn. I am bringing it up to say, in the 1950s, when you opened up any page of the newspaper, you would never see anything about a female athlete. It was all about the boys, and only the boys. So, wow, she's come a long way, or all you ladies have come a long way, no doubt about that. The front page, and she's getting paid for her image, her likeness, etc., by a sports company. So, wow, have times changed. They've really changed, and you ladies have taken advantage of it. But there's so much more that you and we all can do. We hope that you, with the assistance of a few good men, will get more of women into leadership positions in this country, so that perhaps we might just be able to pull us out of what appears to be an old man's malaise, senility, and the inability to get much important done, at least in our leadership country. So, morning has broken. This is a new day. Let's make the most of it in all the days to follow. Namaste.
We are the world. Patrick called me a little over a week ago to ask me to do the mini message today. I said yes. Of course, I always say yes when Patrick asks. The truth was, though, I had no idea what I would say. In fact, I forgot about it until Friday night, when I was watching a documentary on the making of this song. is called The Greatest Night in Pop. I have vague memories of hearing this song, but the truth was I was learning to live with a baby who had just learned to walk. The only time I listened to the radio was when I was driving in my car. I don't remember if I was aware of the worldwide impact of this song, but it was enormous. Initially, it was the brainchild of four men: Harry Belafonte, Quincy Jones, Lionel Richie, and Michael Jackson. By the night it was recorded, and it was done in one night, almost 50 of the greatest recording artists of the day had gathered to make history. Artists as diverse as Bob Dylan, Diana Ross, Lionel Richie, Stevie Wonder, Bruce Springsteen, Tina Turner, Willie Nelson, Cyndi Lauper, Ray Charles, and the list goes on. Everyone donated their time and talent, not just the stars, but the lighting designers, the sound engineers, the cameramen, musicians, everyone. Quincy Jones was the man in charge. He produced and directed the whole thing. He posted a sign at the door to the studio that said, "Check your egos at the door." And for the most part, they did. Upon its release, it became the fastest selling single in the US. It eventually went quadruple platinum, the first multi-platinum record. The song raised $63 million, equivalent to $144 million today. This was Harry Belafonte's response to the famine in Ethiopia. All of these people were asked to step up, and they did. There are people alive in Ethiopia today who would otherwise have starved to death. Listening to the song at the end of the documentary gave me chills. Watching these massively talented people park their egos at the door so they could work together to save lives on a major scale brought tears to my eyes. While watching, I had a fantasy of going to a Trump rally and blasting this song to drown out the whiny baby. We are the world. We are the children. Together, we can save not just our democracy, not just our country, but our world. If not now, when? If not me, who? We are the children.
You ought to surprise her more often with requests to give the mini message. Well done. Thank you very much. Okay. I don't see any. Are there new faces here today? I think they're not old faces, but they're familiar faces. We'll put it that way. All right, I have some announcements to make. Today, right after service, is our monthly potluck, and this is a special one, is it not, Bonnie? You're ready. I'll be the chicken, she can be the dumpling. Chicken and dumplings from Bonnie, and a whole bunch of other stuff too that you folks are all bringing. If you didn't bring anything, don't worry about it. There's gonna be enough for everybody. Just go next door and enjoy it. March 1st, that's the first Friday of the month, is Ring Out Danger. A few of us come here and we ring the bell for 5 solid minutes to give our support to the idea of getting rid of gun violence in this country. So you're invited to come. We start ringing it precisely at 9:35 and we stop precisely at 9:40. So if you want to be here, please join us. There will be at least 2 of us here. There's always at least 2 of us. And more are welcome. And then you can stay if you wish in a slightly cooler facility and meditate or whatever moves you. That's March 1st, Friday. March 7th and 21, I think, is the spiritual book group. Is that correct?
Book group. Okay, yeah. Sorry.
I'll get to you later. That sounds right to me. At 10 a.m. in the hall, twice a month, usually every other Thursday. March 10th is the Board of Directors meeting in the hall at 9 a.m. You're welcome to attend, but you don't have to. I may have to, but you don't have to. On March 11th and 18th, I have down as the healing circle. Would that be correct, Natalie?
Shoot, I just sent out an email reminding people about it. It's tomorrow night, and then it's the 2nd and 4th Monday
didn't have it. Tomorrow night is definitely on, man.
Yes.
And then 2 weeks later, it should be March 11th and 18th. So I'm
Yes.
talking next month now. I forgot.
Yeah, it won't be the 18th, though, it'll be the following one, because.
Okay, well then ignore the 18th. Let me make a note of that, because I'm gonna put it in the newsletter. So March 11th, but not the 18th?
It's the 11th and the 25th.
25th, thank you. I will make sure the newsletter has the correct dates. All right, there's not only a potluck today, but on March 31 will be the next potluck. So you'll want to attend there, but you'll have to bring your own chicken and dumplings. Are there any other announcements that I should be making but haven't remembered to do so? Yes, sir.
There's not one you were supposed to remember. Would the board members please, right after church meeting for just a minute, at the stage next door? We got a chance to get some flooring. The color is not what we had originally envisioned. Let's take a look at it. We can get a heck of a deal today, or we can wait till the next deal comes. So if you just meet me over there for just a minute, right after church.
Okay, that's the board members, those who are in attendance, and hopefully some might come if they're not here. All right. Anything else? All right, it has been said that we should engage our brain before we open our mouth to speak, and I try to do that. Occasionally I succeed. Well, we here at Church of the Oaks try to take that wisdom even further by suggesting in song that before opening our mouths to speak or sing, we open our eyes to see and open our ears to hear. Turn to the Wings of Song, number 72, and let us sing while standing, "Open my eyes that I may see."
Open my eyes that I may see glimpses of truth thou hast for me. Place in my hands the wonderful key that shall unclasp and set me free. Silently now I wait for thee, ready, my God, thy will to see. Open my eyes, illumine me, Spirit divine. Open my ears that I may hear voices of truth that send us clear. And while the wave notes fall on my ear, everything false will disappear. Silently now I wait for thee, ready, my God, thy will to see. Open my ears, illumine me, Spirit divine. Open my mouth and let me bear gladly the warm truth everywhere. Open my heart and let me prepare love with thy children thus to share. Silently now I wait for thee, ready, my God, thy will to see. Open my heart, illumine me, Spirit divine.
As long as you're standing, why don't you greet each other in the traditional Church of the Oaks way.
Is that tempo okay?
How you doing, Strader?
Oh, come on.
Hello?
Just like taking a septic tank thing is all. It ain't over till you're back in the something.
I'm so excited. Look at your lovely baby. How was your yes, we went to Brad. Yes, my art. It was pretty good. Yeah. You're best.
I see what Patrick means when he stands up here and watches us. It's a pleasure to watch us all do what you just did. It just warms your heart. It just shows what abundance we truly have in friendships and family. And you are all friends and all family to each other. Our abundance is demonstrated in so many ways. One of the ways that we get to share our abundance of time, thought, treasure, and talent is to put some funds in the basket as we leave. But a lot of us do something different. We tithe a certain amount every month so that the church can count on so much money definitely coming in. But for those of you who would prefer to do it for personally, go ahead and put yours in the basket as you leave, and we will put it to good use. Let us take a look at the middle of your order of service, and you will see what we call affirmation of abundance. Starting with the word gratitude, let's read that aloud together. Gratitude is the key to the realization and manifestation of abundance. Let's ponder that while Michael plays. This playing always puts me in the mood for meditation and what have you. But before we do the meditation, while we here caution each other to question that which we have been taught by others throughout our lives, we were taught to believe what they told us without question. Well, we're suggesting we question even our own beliefs. But we recognize that all things are possible with the power of belief, especially when we sing this next song in preparation for meditation. Only believe, number 152 in the wings.
All things are possible. Only believe. Only believe. believe all things are possible. Only believe.
Good morning. So for today's meditation, we're going to visualize returning to a place that I think we've all journeyed before, which is a healing waterfall that actually exists in Brazil. And this visualization is designed to give you an opportunity to just completely let go of what other burdens you may be carrying. And so I invite you first to close your eyes. And let's just all together take a couple of deep breaths. As I do so, I want you to imagine that you're standing at the beginning of a path in a tropical place. Green plants everywhere, birds singing, bright sunshine. And right in front of you, this path of red dirt leading into this wilderness. And so we're all just going to walk a short distance together down this path. And as you do, just notice all the beauty around you. Feel the earth under your feet. In the distance now, you begin to hear what sounds like a waterfall. Just faintly at first. And then as it begins to grow louder, you know we must be getting closer to it. A little further now, and the sound of the waterfall becomes unmistakable. And we come to the end of the path where it comes out on a small beach at the edge of a pool that indeed a waterfall is flowing into. Now this waterfall is not enormous, but you can see in the clarity of the water there's something here for you. I want you to feel all the trees around this sacred place helping you be here in present time, helping you to let go of concerns as you begin to walk into this pool where the water not quite reach your knees. This waterfall invites you to come and step underneath it, allowing the water to cleanse you and carry away your burdens. So now, on the count of 3, you're going to take that step and go underneath the water. 1, 2, 3. Feel it cascade down your back, over your head. Feel a new lightness that you had forgotten was there. Rise up in your heart. After you release the first layer, there may be others. This waterfall will only ever be as strong as you want and need it to be. No more, no less. When you feel that you have released all that you came to release today, let the tone of this waterfall energy change from a clearing to a filling up. As any time we release energetically, it's always important to fill the spaces afterwards. So just feel that happening now. Beautiful, clear, crystalline light water just flowing into all the places where you let go of something today. When you feel you have filled yourself to the brim with this light, you can step out of the waterfall and back to the shore. Make your way back to the shore. Just take a moment here to drink in the beauty around you as we wait for everyone to return. And then begin back down the path together, feeling a new lightness, a new connection with our purpose and the love that we are. And you carry this healing with you throughout the day. Namaste.
Good morning. I always have a deep sense of welcome at Church of the Oaks. And for all of you who have already paved and prepared the way for myself to have a few moments to speak, I thank you. I thank you for the time and investment that you put into making your part today very significant, and it's felt by me. My message title today is Waking Up. And waking up, you know, there's those mornings I remember as a small child. It always was when I had to go to school, usually on a Monday or a Tuesday, never on a Saturday. But, you know, the bed just felt perfect, and you could close your eyes and go back to sleep instantly. It's not like it is today for a lot of us. You know, going to sleep can be a real endeavor. Waking up, the context today is a spiritual context, not a physical one. And by religious, I simply mean a structure or a path that you or I have chosen to follow. One of the authors that I have read quite often is Ken Wilber. One of his books, A Religion for Tomorrow, he summarized the work of religion in 4 levels. Level 1 is cleaning up, and we're all going to identify with these levels. You know, we approach this and there's some things that we just need to clean up. We move from cleaning up to growing up. You know, we learn, we seek. The third phase is waking up, and that's what I would like to focus on today. The fourth is showing up. Now, I'll say this right now, that we live in all 4 of these realms simultaneously. We never stop cleaning up. We never stop growing. We never stop waking up or showing up. But waking up for me has been a very significant place, and I would just like to share some thoughts about that this morning. I will be turning 70 in a few months, and in many ways, I have a charmed life. That is not to say that my wife of 49 years and I have not had our share of setbacks. I've also come to realize that there is a big difference between the first half and the second half of life. You know, and I've become increasingly aware of just how little I knew of what I thought I knew. First half of life, and Wayne and I would totally agree, is all about us. It's all about those clippings, the achievements maybe in sports, our job success, providing for my wife and family. To sum it up, first half of life is a lot about just acquiring. It is acquiring the desire to acquire, to achieve, to be really who we want to be in life. But in my journey of waking up, I have benefited from the perspectives of different viewpoints, and one of them is Buddhism. And the Buddhists have a word for this desire to acquire. And I may or may not pronounce it right, but it's tanha. And this word literally means thirsting, craving, or longing. This word includes not only the desire for, but attachment to people, to experiences, to ideas, opinions, even our spiritual accomplishments. In Tibetan Buddhism, they personify this endless craving as a character they call the hungry ghost. And the hungry ghost has an enormous belly, but a very, very small throat, and it can never consume enough to satisfy his appetite. Thinking about that many times, and while our culture, both secular and religious, insists that happiness is found in acquiring and doing things, that we are in fact building a hungry ghost existence. And in actuality, we are creating more unhappiness than happiness. And we produce literal suffering in our culture that we live in. I'm a farmer at my core. And my wife and I have farmed a 4-acre farm just on the southwest side of Santa Rosa for the last 25 years. We've had a wide variety of animals, birds. We've raised our own fruits and vegetables. And over that time, with the limited acreage and at times the number of animals that we have had, I have become acutely aware of the absolute necessity to properly rotate crops and not allow overgrazing. The price that is paid by this neglect is severely diminished returns and the quality of what the land will ultimately produce. You see, soil, like us, people, needs to rest. It needs to rejuvenate. I began to see that though I was still putting the same effort in, I was experiencing a diminishing return. And as a result, my efforts and the result of all the work that I put in was no longer as satisfying. In the words of a spiritual scholar, Walter Bregeman, he sums it up this way: life consists in moving with God and spirit through a reoccurring pattern of being securely oriented, painfully disoriented, and being surprisingly reoriented. And now it's in this middle ground, this disoriented place of what I have come to feel I call it a hollow middle, a longing. And I believe we all carry that to a degree. I don't believe I'm unique in any way. But the more we wake up, and I know that this audience can relate and feel what I'm saying. That there is a constant longing of some degree that we all carry. It might be a desire for, just in general, the world we live in, our fellow man, the environment. But there is a piece of us that longs for something, and in many respects, we can't always identify what it is. But this longing is directly related to our spirit waking to the world that we live in and the universe that we belong to. I began to see that though I was doing like the land I farm, I had a decreasing return, and I was no longer satisfied. I think for many, and ladies, I cannot speak for you, but I can definitely speak for the men. I think for many men, this constitutes the makings of what we call the midlife crisis. And for most men, it drives them backwards. You know, I got to buy a new car. I got to find a new wife. I've got to find something that takes me back to that time in my life that I've really felt securely oriented. But for those of us that want to move ahead, not backwards, that want to step into that wilderness experience, and I say that to all of us here today, I have a little saying that I have come to live by. All one needs is a place to belong, a path to follow, and a few good friends to keep you sane. And as we move through that phase of life, and I believe we are in that phase of our lives, having a few friends, and I can't emphasize enough, it's usually just a few, and they are hard to find. In the second half of my life, I've come to see it's really about not acquiring, it's about letting go. I have a deeper understanding of what is essential, what I value, and more important, what we desire and long for. One of the things that I truly, truly appreciate when I attend a service here at Church of the Oaks is how you embrace stillness. It is extremely rare in my church experience, in my decades of church experience, that every Sunday there is a genuine effort to practice stillness. And how that stillness prepares us to receive the message, but really it is just a discipline that we begin to embrace in a very natural way. And I think stillness has been a real challenge for me. You know, nothing creates heat or tension between the thing and the things faster than allowing for time to be spent without an agenda. Just to simply sit and be still. That the ego, the mind just goes crazy with, no, there's too many things to be thinking about here. You know, we've got to be busy. There is flooring that has to be purchased. It's not the color that we hoped for, but we really need to give some serious thought about it. That's just one of many examples that when we sit down and try to be still. Having the opportunity to travel, I've been able to see how different we Americans value time. We are literally ruled by it. And I don't think the evolution of things like smartphones have helped us in any way, shape, or form. But we find that time is either used productively or it's wasted. And there is no in-between. But waking up, finding ourselves in those moments of life that are disoriented, presents an invitation. An invitation to consider that the fruits of our labor, past and present, may be found in the restful, unhurried moments of time. And that we can truly begin to realize that peace, serenity, well-being, and delight are more than concepts and ideas, but real experiences that are felt and tasted in real time. For me, one of the more memorable statements that Jesus made was a very simple statement that he said, you can't put new wine in an old wineskin. And I take that to mean in my life that there are times that I need to embrace the reality of the Spirit's work in me, and in this new wine of awakening can't be contained in old structures. My spiritual journey in life has been a very crooked one. And I think for many people in America, and I say this with a lot of conviction, but there is a real spiritual migration in our country today. That there are many people who have discovered, maybe painfully, maybe in rare occasions joyfully, that the institution of the church or religious institutionalism has produced dead ends, or maybe the well has just gone dry there. I used to believe that the local church was the destination that we had to get everyone to come to. And at some point in time, I realized it's really the beginning. And there is a need of the Spirit to move and to free us to move in all directions. There's a difference when someone comes through the door on a Sunday. There's a difference between a seeker, and sometimes there are truly people who are just seeking. I'm curious. I want to know. I want to know what's going on in this building on any given Sunday. But they might be refugees. And they might be coming in wounded and disillusioned. And maybe it's just that morning opportunity to have the embrace and the hug of someone other than themselves that can help reconnect them to a reality and reconnect with themselves in spirit. Awakening to spirit is both inward and outward. In order to be present with others, we must dwell in his presence simultaneously. I used to believe that I brought spirit, or I brought Jesus to a place. For decades, I worked with high school and college students. And I naively thought for many, many years that I was bringing Jesus to the campus. That's one of those things about I don't really know as much as I thought I knew back in my first half of life. But things all changed when I realized that when I came to any place, any campus, or any place that I was in trying to work with people at that time in my life, that once I realized that Jesus was already there, it changed my whole perspective. We don't bring the Spirit. The Spirit is already there. We make a choice to participate with the Spirit. And some of the songs that we have sung today just helped me just to think about that as well, that it is opening our eyes that we might see, opening our ears that we can truly hear what people are saying around us. That awakening to the Spirit is what allows us to participate. Awakening for me, and maybe to you, well, it's like being turned upside down. I'd like to illustrate this by, I've checked this out. I talked to pilots. One was he's now passed, flew airplanes in World War II. And I asked he and another individual, I said, is there an exercise in aviation training called recovering from an unusual attitude? And they said yes. And so I can share this with confidence that I'm not making this up. But a pilot in training goes up with his instructor, and at one point in time in their training, they tie a blindfold onto the student pilot. And the trainer takes control of the airplane, and he starts doing loops to loops with this plane. He pushes the plane skyward, he flips it belly up, and starts to swoop earthward in a crash dive. The intention of this is to get this student pilot totally and completely discombobulated. And when he puts this plane in a suicide dive, that's when he pulls the blindfold off the student. One of my friends was a naval pilot, flew jets, and he said not only did he pull the blindfold off, he used to have a stick that he backed you up the back of the head at the same time to totally disorient you. But at that moment, he hands over the controls to this young pilot, whose job it is then to get the plane back under control. I say that because when we wake up in our disoriented moments in life, or our disoriented moments of any given day, we first have to recover from an unusual attitude. We first have to recover, and our compulsion is to gain control. You know, moving in the Spirit is not a linear process. Back when I thought I knew everything, I used to think it was, and I've learned otherwise. But moving with Spirit is what I call loopy. You know, we take one step forward, and then we end up taking 2 steps back, because it was pretty scary out there. I was really unsure. I don't know if I can grasp this. And so it's a constant moving back and forth, back and forth. We move out, we trust, and then we have to move back. Our compulsion, again, is to gain control. But what we first encounter is that loss of control. Waking up is in that moment where we just question control. We lose control. And moving from security to surprise is often a very painful transition. There's a Taoist saying, to the mind that is still, that the world surrenders. And this might, just for some, sound counterintuitive, but waking up is a mind that can be still, that can rest in delight, that realizes our burdens are His, and taking the attention off of ourself and placing it on Him results in the true rest of our souls. I'd like to close with desire. We all have desire. I felt that desire in many of you shared over the times that I have been here. In Celtic spirituality, they had a term called the thin spaces. A thin space is where you and I encounter, in our own unique way, the Spirit. For me, my thin space is out in my garden. That's my thin space. For some, it might be a walk on the beach, a walk in the redwoods, sitting down to paint, listening or playing to music. I've even heard some people iron. But these are the places where we meet with Spirit. I think it was Thomas Merton who said, faith and hope does not satisfy, but it increases our desire. My wife often asks me, in terms of my garden, when is enough enough? Do you ever think in terms of less is more? I can't. But I do say this in regards to spirit. The more we wake up, the more our desire increases. It's just the natural working of that. Several of you have touched me in ways, and Wayne, it was several weeks ago, you stood up here and you talked about SAY, Social Advocates for Youth. Now, I don't remember what you said exactly about SAY that day, but what I still remember to this day is how I felt when you said it. You see, there was something in that short presentation that created a thin space that really touched me. Sabrina, the other couple Sundays ago during the storms, when you gave that little presentation and just encouraged us to, not just think about those around us, but take an active step in going to them. That touched me. And I know that all of you here today would have examples just the same. As we awaken to the Spirit, it opens up, what I would call germinates and nurtures us into this inbreaking of the Spirit. And I just encourage you to, as that continues to happen in your life, that you would be ever encouraged to move ahead in the Spirit's awakening. Thank you.
Dick Meyer, thank you so very much. Patrick Michael McCarty, thank you for being absent today.
You are welcome, sir.
We really appreciate your being here, Dick, and that was a very inspirational message. And we trust that Patrick might take a few more days off throughout the year and maybe invite you back. If he doesn't, we'll invite you back anyway. So, imagine, Spirit is here, whether we show up or not. So let's imagine some other things. Time to stand and sing, imagine, on the inner page of the cover of your songbook. And then we will do an amen.
I wonder Father, if you can, make me greed or hunger, a brotherhood of man, imagine all the people sharing all the world. You know, you may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you'll join us, and the world will live as one.
A little. Don't forget, we got the potluck and board members, we need to meet on the stage.